Welcome in the fourth and the last section of our Docker course. In this section we'll be looking at the multi-container and multi-host environments. So we'll be looking at the more advanced concepts concerning Docker and Docker architecture. Firstly, we'll start off from a Docker Compos. We'll see what it is and how to use Docker Compos to manage multiple services. We will be able to start multiple containers and connect them in the automatic way. We'll be using Docker Compose and YAML files to define a structure of such distributed applications. Next, we will be looking also at the Docker Swarm and its architecture. It is used to create a cluster of containers that are running inside of a totally different physical machines. So we'll be able to spawn Docker containers on the different machines in our server. And this is a first video and we'll be looking at the Docker Compose. So we'll be composing Docker for set up a complex architecture. We'll see what a Docker Compose is and how to define a compose file. We'll be composing our architecture from multiple running containers. We will be also installing our Docker Compose. So let's answer a question firstly, what a Docker Compose is. So this is a tool for defining, launching and managing services where a service is defined as one or more replicas of a Docker container. So we can spawn multiple containers based on the same image. Services and system of services are defined in YAML file. This is a special format that is similar to XML but less verbose. And this is managed with the command line program called Docker Compose. Up to this time we used only command line docker command, and right now we'll be using Docker Compose. That is some kind of extension that uses Docker underneath. Docker Compose allows us to achieve multiple difficult tasks automatically. So we can build Docker images, but also we can launch containerized applications as services. We can launch full systems of services. We can manage the state of individual services in a system, and we can scale up or down. So if we see that our container needs to have more resources, we can use Docker Compose to scale that service up. We can also view logs for the collection of containers making a service. So it has some kind of log aggregation from multiple Docker containers. Firstly, we need to install Docker Compose, and let's see what a Docker Compose is. So in the official documentation, it is written that it relies on a Docker engine for any meaningful work. So firstly, we need to have installed Docker engine, then we can install Docker Compose. And according to your operating system, you need to choose a proper. If you have Mac OS X, then you can get Docker for Mac, if Windows also for Windows, and for Linux also you can use a curl to just install Docker Compose. Once we have our Docker Compose installed, let's define a YAML file with two services, two containers that will be interacting with each other using Docker Compose. So we need to create a docker-compose.yml file that will be interpreted by Docker Compose automatically. We are defining two services. First is database and alias will be DB. We can pass a specific environment properties and this will be a MySQL database. So MySQL root password will be set to example. And image that will be used is a MariaDB. Let's look at this image on the Docker Hub. We can see that MariaDB is a community development fork of the MySQL relational database management system intended to remain free under GNU license. So we can easily and use for free use that database, and there is ready image as we can see, ready image that we can use and create containers out of it. Next, we are starting some kind of web application that will be using that database. We are using a WordPress image, then we are linking that database to MySQL. So MySQL will be used and that database container will be used by the WordPress. and you are binding the port 8080 inside of this container to the port 80.